I am so excited, cause I'm gonna take down my abuser. I am so excited, cause I'm gonna take down my abuser. Do you have to license songs for this type of video? Even if I just sang the tune of it? Who knows? Who knows? Also, just before we get things started, just heads up that I did shave right before I filmed this because I'm a trans woman. And I did cut myself shaving like I'm John Darnell. And I hope that's how you pronounce his name because it's a good joke. Speaking of jokes, you should know that comedy is cathartic. And I think we all know that. I think just the aspect of telling a joke can often be happy, just a happy feeling for the average person. And what I find so interesting about that is that I've made a lot of sense out of my life in the past few days. And the comedic aspect of it has been a core part of my being since I was like very young. And the reason that is because I made a joke once that somebody I respected laughed at, and it was a good feeling. And if you happen to know me from any niche corner of the internet, you should know that if I was trying too hard, it's because that's kind of the only reinforcements I've ever had in my life, and we're changing that now. Speaking of reinforcements, the situation is I've realized recently that my mind doesn't work in the service industry world, and part of that is because I'm just like, my mind just naturally loves to like, well, I mean, you might be able to tell already, but I love to talk. And the interesting thing is that because I've been working since I was like 18, the service industry has been draining, and then even the jobs that I had that were better than average were still draining, just in a different way. And it kind of took out my like creative muscle or bone or whatever metaphor we want to use. And what's crazy is that should I stop saying the word crazy? I don't know. I go to therapy, for the record. I'm not using that word in an antiquated way. I don't know if it's, yeah. I think therapy is really good. Once we get into it, you'll realize that it's really important. But the important story here is that my recent job is by and far the best job I've ever had. And the reason my most recent job is the best job I've ever had is because it's one of the only jobs where through and through I felt respected by people. And being respected by and large by several people really just like taught me that I'm more worthy of love in a way. And it was very powerful. And that confidence got me to formally resign from my job and move on to seeking more creative passions. And one of I think writing has always been a passion of mine. I've always thought about writing screenplays and stuff, merely because film school was very, very, very important to me. The reason it was so important was just because it was fun. But I'm also a perfectionist to a fault, and the last thing that happened at my time in film school is that I couldn't find an ending to like a final documentary that I made. And the final documentary was really good, even though I never finished it. But the fact that I never finished it, I thought gave me writer's block and like just creativity block in a general sense, because by not finishing it, I taught myself that I wasn't worthy of finishing a film. solely, but the truth is the documentary didn't have an ending. You can hear from the way I talk that I just love to talk, yo. But here's the truth, is that because I felt respected in my job, I've recently taken these new steps to be creative, and the creativity has inspired me to confront people that I usually haven't confronted. And one of the main person I confronted is my abuser. Now, if you're wondering, my abuser's name is Ryan Erickson. It's just Ryan. It's Ryan Erickson, and he is my biological father. He has emotionally abused me my whole life, and he's also threatened acts of violence most of the time. Just whenever I would ever say anything at all that he could find judging. He tore our family apart because I have a sibling, and I also have a mother, of course, and she separated from him a long time ago, and very, very clearly had good reason to, now that I listen to her stories as an adult. And it's just when I get into this guy's abuse, you're just gonna love how fucking silly he is. He's so and that's silly parentheses negative, because being silly should be one of the best things ever, but there's been so many aspects of my life where I've been face to face with somebody that was just so narcissistic that I couldn't help but find them silly in their reaction to stuff. And I have so many stories about that, and I'll do those stories on TikTok and stuff, because, the idea is I'll probably do Twitch streams and then edit it for TikTok, but I might actually just have to do it on TikTok, because we'll get to that later. You might notice that I'm in a hotel room. This is very obviously a hotel room. We're not going to say what hotel room or where it could possibly be, because the reason I'm in a hotel room is because yesterday Ryan Erickson physically assaulted me, and I'll tell you exactly why. It's because he doesn't respect anybody. He thinks he's the most important person in the world, and if anybody ever says anything criticizing of him, it's a deep personal attack, even if you're just talking about I didn't like that movie, or I don't think AI is good, just the generative AI idea. He because I take those stances, he thought they were personal attacks. And due to my new inspired confidence that I've been giving myself self-worth due to my creative writing, I just kind of started doing comedy. So okay, let's not jump to the comedy part. But what had happened is that yesterday, no, the story starts on Sunday. Actually, this is Thursday. I'm pretty sure it's the 17th, right? It'd be really embarrassing if this video, I didn't know what day it was. I believe it's the 17th and it's Thursday. I think, didn't Donkey Kong Bonanza come out today? I don't have a Switch 2. I'm sure I'd love that game if I had a Switch 2. Gosh, what a funny thing to put in this video. It would be, honestly, it's difficult. It's very difficult to record this, just because I love rambling and I love yapping. And honestly, I could spend so much time on Twitch just chatting if you guys just want to talk about it. Anyways, it's Thursday the 17th. Sunday, I started having new confidence because I'd been sober from marijuana for a couple days. We'll get into that some other time. It's not important entirely to this story, but I do have positive things to say about stopping marijuana in the way that I'm I love myself a lot more. Like, I'm way more confident. I guess I don't know why it's a story. That's basically it. Um, the fun aspect of this situation for me is just how obviously unfair everybody's being, especially now that I'm a confident adult. And so I'll tell you the story beat by beat. My last job, I was a behavioral specialist, and this was a job that I had on-the-job training for, and I personally believe that I did a great job. I mean, I maybe wasn't as effective as I could be in certain ways, but I cared a lot about my clients, and I did my best to get them the help that they could. And aspects of the concept of ABA did feel wrong to me, but not in a way that I want to like name and shame the company or anything. Just in a way that like I don't know how these methods work, and that's kind of why like I was not amazing at my job, is because I kind of did my own methods, and most of the time I would just hang out with the kid and really try to talk to him about like, hey, so this really is gonna help. Like this, I know I sound like I'm a teacher and I'm trying to teach you, but this is like, I understand exactly what's going on here, and this is the simple solution to this. But you know, kids, am I right? So anyways, because I'm a behavioral specialist, and because I've recently stopped masking around my father to stop walking around eggshells, and eggshells is actually the name of my first article, and you can go read it at eileenbrady.art.com, and I'm very proud of it. It's a well-written article. If you have any notes about it, I love taking constructive criticism again, and I did make an email as a bit, because the email is where did Eileen go wrong @gmail.com. It's a self-aware joke about how I was also an enabler to a sense in this process, simply by being the kid and having unconditional love for my abuser. I almost said father. He doesn't deserve that title. So let's get into detail. As a behavior specialist, I really, like, it's very obvious to me the negatives, the positives, the reinforcers, the reasons somebody could believe that they are in the right when they give abuse, because of how their life has gone so far and how they talk to them, how the story they've painted themselves about the situation. And if you know me personally, and I sound like I'm finally realizing a lot of stuff. Yeah, like I have, due to everything, I have very, very deep attachment issues, and they're basically cured now, I think, because it just seems natural to me that, oh, obviously if that person likes me and they love me and they want to hang out, that's cool, and if they don't, it's fine, because I like hanging out with myself, so it's, you know, it's whatever. Like, I've been having so much fun doing this video. Like, when I came out with that entrance, I was so proud of myself. But let's not get carried away. It's already almost a 15-minute long video, but it's fair. As a behavior specialist, I did my best with my abuser. And the reason I believe that is because this all started because I was simply trying to help. I had been, the way I'd been walking around eggshells, and by the way, I love the metaphor of eggshells, and it's very important to me in the article. And I got really excited because I really, like, for some reason there's like a marketer deep down in my psyche, because while I was writing it, like, eggshells, read all about it, like, it was just It was just perfect. Now, like, that's marketing. Eggshells, read all about it. Like, that's just good. Like, I'm not gonna apologize for that. It's just good. So the thing about that article is it's tongue-in-cheek, theoretical, but it's clearly about Ryan Erickson and his enabler. Everything about it is true, and I do just want to continue to tell the story, and gosh, it's going to get so much more fun from here, y'all. I was masking around this gentleman because I had been taught a lot that there's so many things that could set him off. So I had a mask that was like perfectly scripted to not piss him off. And the thing about a mask is it's really, really, really energy consuming, because it's not how I really felt. I just had to pretend that he was a positive role in my life and a person that I could talk to. But most of the time, the mask was just capable of talking about mutual respect for comedy shows that we both somehow enjoyed. But even then, it's like there's not a lot of that, because even when we talked about it, we had a lot of disagreements. So, I did my best, really. As a behavior specialist, I had unconditional love for the client, for my father, and for my abuser, and that's simply because of the situation that I was in. Right, my father made me that way. It's the monster, right? That's what my hairstylist said. By the way, shout out to the local hairstylist. I was gonna do this video yesterday due to everything, but like, wow, this is a great haircut. It's just a great haircut, and I'm very excited about it. I look hot. So because I wanted to stop masking, I attempted once more to set boundaries with Ryan Erickson. A very normal, modern thing to do, right? A very healthy thing to do, especially when your abuser is a centrist and thinks that's the best political opinion to be because they don't understand how it's a conflict of interest with having a trans daughter or anything. I like to joke that, what some people call radical left, I call trying to live my life. And I don't think it's really unfounded. I think that's just the truth. How many Democrats have shot us in the foot, right? But the thing is that I set these boundaries, and I had, like, I knew that it was possible the boundary itself would upset my abuser, and I set the boundary, and I before I set the boundary, and I set a couple of them in a row because I had them saved up due to the masking, and I was ready for it. Like I knew exactly, because he's a very predictable person. He did this thing where he loves to be upset about any single thing that anybody could say to him that isn't an agreement of everything he believes. So a simple boundary to make his daughter feel more comfortable, he took as an attack. And I knew he was going to take it as an attack. I'm not going to talk about every boundary here because I'm pretty sure you understand that the mere concept of a boundary is what it is. I can go into detail about every boundary at a later date because I'm proud of everything that I've done and I'm not scared anymore. Well, we'll get to that. I set a boundary and I preloaded it with, please don't have any reaction to the boundary itself, because the mere idea of questioning the boundary itself means you do not respect the boundary already. And I set the boundary, and he furrows his brow, and he growls, and he goes, "Why?" And I'm laughing at the moment. I laughed in that moment because it was just so comedically, like, perfect timing of, like, I set it up, and he did the punchline. How is that his reaction to that when I'm just saying, please respect this boundary if you respect and love me. So anyways, I had like 5 boundaries to set, right? He's upset increasingly more at every single one. By the end of the 5th boundary, I'm crying a lot. And because I'm upset and I'm still talking, you can hear it in my voice. And this upsets my father, that he can hear the crying in my voice. And he says, "Don't do that," because he thinks he's able to control me like that. And it's I snapped a little bit, and I was like, you made me cry, you can't control that, dude. Like I'm trying to set boundaries, and every time you get upset about one, it just shows how more and more you do not respect me. And here's the thing. In the past, I kind of didn't understand boundaries. I've definitely probably been so short-sighted to see that I didn't understand that I was crossing boundaries simply due to my, like, hyper-aware anxiety. And I'm really sorry about that if you're watching this and that happened to you. It's not who I am, really. That's who I was. The thing about it is that my hands are shaking because I'm getting to the thing, the really important thing. Honestly, the fact that I'm getting to the really important thing 25 minutes into the video is probably bad, but it's fine. I've got an editing software. Actually, that's probably the way I should do it, because I have a lot of oohs and ahs, and the internet doesn't love the oohs and the ahs. But I don't know, if eventually people really love me en masse, then you'll get the director's cut. So anyways, the fact that me crying caused him to do that really made everything click for me. Like, the fact that he made me cry and then he tried to control it by saying, "Don't do that," is so funny. Because he also does it, like, when he says something silly. And maybe I mean, like, simple-minded, short-sighted, stupid. I would go, like, because I'm great at making faces. And he would go, "Don't do that." And he would like wave his finger, and he would go, "Don't do that." And that's really funny. Because when I had lower self-esteem, I was like, shit, okay, fine, I won't do that. Jeez. And it was controlling. And so that's part of me enabling his patterns, because he was reinforced by the fact that worked. But really, it was actually just me putting it on a mask and saying, okay, mask doesn't do that. But confident me will do that. What had happened is I go and I take a walk. I go to the library. I see a movie. James Gunn's Superman's really good. There's a line that made me cry in it. You might be able to guess which one because of this story. But anyways, what had happened is this guy, like, I get back from the movie and I suggest, hey, I have another thing for you to talk about with you. And the reason I had another thing to talk about with him is because as a centrist, he's really defensive that he's not a right-winger. And the reason he jumps to that defense is because my political opinions mean every stance he takes on, like, immigration and trans people, just like anything, like, the Gaza conflict, like everything, he loves to jump on and go, you don't understand anything, you gotta read a history book, and just stuff like that. And whenever I impose opposition, he says, yeah, I understand you just think I'm a right-winger. And it's so important to talk about how on his Facebook, on the Facebook that I think he still currently has it, it says, my political views are my own, which is just centrism. Like, it's very funny that he thinks he's being original. But my interpretation of that is that he thinks he's pleasing the majority with that, when as his trans daughter, I see right through it, because it's mostly right-wing opinions that he's got, like the subtly racist things he'll say are crazy. Like the things he said in my defending of undocumented citizens were so crazy that I'm not going to repeat them because they're just racist. And due to this conversation, he is under the impression that I'm a liberal and I think he's a right-winger. And that's such a silly point of view, because I'm simply saying your political views are wrong and mine are right. And yeah, that's maybe one of the things that are technically an attack on him. But the thing is that doesn't the modern right-winger like the political debate? So maybe he is a centrist. But anyways, most of his friends are Trump supporters, and he loves to talk to them a lot. And I simply noticed that he probably talks about me, right? And he'll probably continue to be really bad about gendering me correctly. And he's known for a couple years now, like to a point deep down in your core, that's just a lack of respect, right? Like you're not trying at that point. And it clicked for me that, like, when you talk to your Trump supporter friends, you say he, him, don't you? And I really wanted to talk about that and how it's not fair, because I'm not sensitive to the idea that people could be misgendering me so much as I'm sensing a sign of disrespect, even if I'm not hearing it, right? Like there's no way these Trump supporters are respecting my pronouns. Just in general, like, maybe if they want to prove me wrong, that's cool, but everything I've seen, like if you're vehemently a Trump supporter, he hates us, right? Like, it's, I understand he hates a lot of things, and you're just saying that he's good for the economy or whatever, but a lot of the core issues of his platform are built upon hatred of groups, and I'm just happen to be in one of those groups, so I take personal offense with it. So I'm sorry for saying the word Trump supporters, and if I post like this on every social media, so you might take offense to that. Oh no, but I don't actually care if you're a Trump supporter, so fuck off. Anyways, here's the thing. This political conversation, my stance on AI, my stance on a movie I like, stuff like that, they make him feel personally attacked. Like I'm solely taking the opposite view of his, simply to be obstinate. And the issue with that is just like, oh, you just don't like it when anybody disagrees with you, clearly. He tells me that after he made me cry, that because of our discussion, he had a 4-hour anxiety attack. I believe he technically used the word 4-hour anxiety high. Just so that this isn't technically libel in any way, shape, or form, because he's just not. I don't want to jump ahead in the story or anything, but he's already threatening legal action about some of the things that have happened in the next couple days. Okay, so what has happened is this guy says, come on, you were the cause of that 4-hour anxiety attack. Like, you're the one that gave me the anxiety. And the reason you're the one that gave me the anxiety is because before you talked to me, I didn't have anxiety. Which doesn't actually make any sense, does it? Like, okay, so nobody's gonna talk to you ever again because you only want to talk to the people you it's there's a difference between having safety amongst people who respect me and him saying, you have an opposing view and that's an attack on me, so you gotta go away. If he would say stuff like, and yes, I did live with him obviously for way too long. There's a lot of stories about my journey moving back and forth of everywhere and my financial issues, which might set me into my father's presence, and that's just kind of like the sort of thing. Oh gosh, I forgot to talk about how, like, the thing I love about the bob, just like a real quick aside, because I love it. The wonderful thing about the bob is that it's like the perfect shape for my face, that's kind of like a pie, and it like cohesively it makes sense, and I'm just really happy with how it looks. Anyways, I drop everything as an ex-behavioral therapist, and I say, pause it. Let's pause everything, because I'm not actually, my unconditional love for my father is putting me in this position where I have to say, listen, that 4-hour anxiety attack wasn't like because I said something. It was simply because you felt bad for making me cry, maybe? Like, I'm not sure exactly what made you anxious about it, but the idea that you could make me cry and then feel like I'm the cause of the anxiety about it is frustrating, because I know he was the reason that I cried. Simply because of the fact that his actions made me feel disrespected. He's gonna, like, if he starts doing videos like this, he's gonna be like, well, I felt disrespected. And it's like, yeah, okay. Like, that's, anybody can play that game, but I'm not playing a game. I'm telling you that I was trying to have a heart with you several times, and you just disrespected me with your actions, and then you tried to come back with, this is a boundary. This is a boundary. You can't have any boundaries with me. Like, and my father's enabler also acts like that, and we'll get more to her in a little bit. I'm really getting ahead of myself. It's honestly a fun story to tell. It's cathartic. Here's the thing. This fella, I desperately try to tell him there's unconditional love here, just naturally, because of blood. And due to that, I'm dropping my personal, like, hurt, because the fact that you just said I was the cause of that 4-hour anxiety attack shows such a deep issue, yo. Like the fact that you want me to take credit for that shows such a deep issue. There's such a, it was honestly devastating to hear him say that, because it shows that throughout his life, throughout everything that's happened to our family, he never learned from any mistakes at all, like an adult usually would. Because he's a child. He's a 52-year-old child. Again, that's Ryan Erickson. We're naming and shaming today because I've got a pretty good reason. The next obstacle is the fact that he thinks I'm just being obstinate again because I'm simply using the skills I had in my previous job to help him unconditionally. And he snaps back with, well, you don't have unconditional love for me, actually, because if you had unconditional love for me, you wouldn't nitpick everything that I say. And then that made me laugh really hard, because this guy doesn't understand what the term unconditional love really means, does he? Really not at all. And it sort of just shows straight up that he was never deserving of it, which is why I'm smiling so hard right now, because I finally figured it out. This guy this guy immediately starts saying that he doesn't love me anymore. He starts threatening. He says, you're out in 2 months. And then every time I push by saying, that's not what unconditional means. What are you talking about? And he's like, okay, 2 weeks then. And it's like, okay, so saying anything to you is shortening my time here. So this is actually impossible. So I go start writing the essay that I've already posted on the internet. And I start getting confident because I'm writing this essay and I understand it. And because I left my recent job, I say, all right, you have, like, I left my recent job and I needed to use Ryan Erickson's printer. Now, it's important to know that our previous arrangement for me living there was simply that I pay for utilities, because I'm not even sure he pays rent because he hasn't had a job in 5 years. I don't know how that works. Perhaps because of his enabler. I'm not sure. But again, we'll get more into enabling in a second. But my abuser saw umbrage with the ways I was talking. Everything that had happened that week already had upset me, and I called my mother, and my mother and I commiserated. But one of the aspects that was very cathartic of this whole experience was the fact that when I talked to my mother about, like, verbatim every single thing that happened, she was like, oh yeah, that sounds like him. And it was like, wow, it's been like 20 years since you've had to deal with him, like, his presence, really. Like, I'm pretty sure I have that math right. That's not right. I'm 28. I did think 18 years, 15 years. Childhood's fuzzy due to a number of reasons. Who knows why? God, this is such a fun story. If only because it's cathartic. I talked to my mother, and I did skip over a little part, a little scene earlier about the unconditional love. And he says, you gotta get out of the house. You can't be here. That's like a really bad, like, Reagan. Is that Reagan? The enabler voted for Reagan, by the way. This is in case you want a prequel to why I might have umbrage with her. Anyways, what he did was he was like, you can't be here, you can't do this. And I really wanted to show him how I'm not scared of him, and I did the same thing, and I did a deeper voice. I didn't do a bad Reagan impression, but I was like, I just made like a really fake deep voice, and I said, learn what unconditional means. And I'm laughing just because I thought it was so funny. And I took a walk. I got out of the house. So fast forward to when I was printing a label to mail my company equipment back to my last job, which we'll get to it in a second, but that company equipment hasn't gone out yet due to the next events that I'm going to repeat verbatim because it was a crime, and it's very important that the entire world knows the ways in which it was a crime. This guy, I go to print something. The printer's not working. You know, printers are silly. They just don't work. Sometimes they gotta reconnect to the network. Sometimes you gotta figure out why the computer's got the wrong drivers. Maybe your phone's gonna do it if it has the HP app. Whatever. Printers are weird. I was trying to figure it out. While I was trying to figure it out, I did a little button pushing. I did a little needle and prodding, and that brings me to the previous point, which is that comedy is really cathartic. And I had new confidence, and I love telling jokes. And because he was at the expense of these jokes, he took such umbrage with them. And I will say again, he's already threatened legal action over me, which is really, really funny because of the next events I'm about to talk to you about. And I'm just laughing because of how funny and cathartic this whole experience has been. First, I say I'm sorry for intruding on your safe space, but I really need to use the printer for my job. And he doesn't say anything. And I'm just I'm tapping the printer. I'm pressing all the buttons to try to make it work. And he says, I say, have you talked to your mother today? And he was just like, yeah, I did talk to my mother. And I was like, oh, cool. I'm just trying to connect with you because I talked to my mother today too. And he was like, oh, I'm sure I'm a topic of conversation. And I might have gaslit him a little bit. And I was like, well, sure. But I didn't say, well, sure, to be fair, because I know he's going to tell the story differently. I was like, well, she had a surgery, so we mostly talked about that. But obviously, yeah, I cried on the phone about him to her, and it's all like you need to know that it was a private conversation. I was just teasing him a little bit about how I was talking to my mother, and he talked to his mother because his mother is an enabler. And so many stories about how that hurt us as a family in the past. And yeah, she's just an enabler. I'm not going to say her name because she technically didn't do any crimes. If she sees this and she is hurt by it, I already apologize in advance because I have predictions for every contingency. So anyways, this guy starts to threaten like everything. I keep going back and forth between my computer, which is in what I used to call my bedroom, and he really I keep coming in and he's like, God, he's like upset that I'm still there. And he says, I'm like, sorry about this. I just really gotta send this phone back to that job that was paying me nearly, $28 an hour that I just quit willy-nilly. Must be weirdly confident about something. And he was like, He shook his head. And I just had to point out that he can't really be mad at me for not having a job, like, for a day. For like 2 days or whatever it was. Because I'm calling this a job. Like, the article is too well written to not be considered work. I'm sorry. Like, notes at where did Eileen go wrong? Because it's a self-aware bit. But, so the issue here is that, like, again, he sees these jokes as attacks. My jokes are a defense mechanism, and I personally think I'm really funny. And I'm going to tell you every joke as they happen. I sit down and go, oh, are you upset I haven't had a job in a day? Because you haven't had one in 5 years, right? And he goes, oh, now you're attacking me. Now you're attacking me. Like, he made a funny face. He's been making lots of funny faces. to be fair, genetics that I also can do funny faces, and I'm happy with my ability to do funny faces. So, shout outs to my abuser for that. But the thing about this is that I might have skipped over a joke, because there was a point when he was biting his tongue, and he was like, it was like very clearly he really didn't want to say anything to be the antecedent to any of my behavior. But the fun thing is that he doesn't realize that for the past 28 years he's been an antecedent to the behavior, and we'll get to more on that later. I say, "You're so funny." This is one of the times when I go to check the printer. I say, "You're so funny." And actually, now that I think about it, it was the last time I tried to check the printer. I say, "You're so funny." He goes, "I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean." And I said, "Well, it's actually a compliment." And then, he saw that the way I said that was a joke. And it was a joke, but, he was being really funny. And he does this thing he does, which is very funny, because he thinks he holds power over people simply because he has more money than people do for whatever reason. Like, I'm not sure where he gets all this money from. Like, he bought a car recently for $1,000, and maybe part of it's savings, but a lot of it's most likely from his enabler. And that's really funny. The thing is that he loves to point out ways that he thinks he's been kind. And he says, I don't remember saying you could use the printer, because I know you didn't pay for the paper, and I know you didn't pay for the printer ink. Previously never established that if I were to print one thing from the printer, that's something that I would have to do. Obviously, because how much, one piece of paper, a little bit of printer ink for a shipping label, like, come on. He just wanted to hold power over me. And then he searches his mind for one other thing, because he remembers that I am paying for the utilities, our previously established agreement. And he says, "You don't pay for the laundry detergent," despite the fact that he has Costco jugs of laundry detergent that he's had for such a long time. And I don't use a lot of laundry detergent. Over the time I was there, I maybe used the portion. Regardless, it was a silly thing for him to say. I don't know why I'm trying to justify. I used his laundry detergent. Yeah, he told me I could. He just decided that it was a way he was being nice. And I do one of the bits that I'm most proud of. And if in the future I'm gonna go on Twitch, and I really just love to talk about art, and I really just love to play video games, and it's because video games are art, obviously. And I do think that this has the capability of being a running joke on my channel, because woo is fun. And I started doing this. I started doing jazz hands. And these are just my normal, I'll explain the joke later. I started doing jazz hands, and he goes, "I'm not really sure what you're doing." Because, and I say, I explain it. "Ooh, you're so scary. You technically have more money than I do." He's sitting in his chair before I say that. He throws his laptop on the ground, and, very angry face. Immensely angry face. Obviously, never seen this guy throw a laptop in his life. So I realized, there's actually probably a problem here. For some reason, using the word scary as an antecedent made his behavior be, "I'll show you scary. I'll show you scary." Okay? And he chases me. This office is in, it doesn't matter. But his office is quite a bit. It's basically as far from the front door as it could be. And I've gone over this traumatic experience so many times in my head that it's very funny I didn't just go through the back door. But anyways, he chases me to the front door and, running around in his messy house. They're slipping and sliding, there's carpets, blah, blah, blah. It's a mess of a house because he's a mess of a man. And for the record, my room's very messy. I've been writing. As a creative, it's normal to be messy. As a man that sits on his computer talking to ChatGPT all day, it's a little sad, actually, if your stuff's messy, huh? It's unendearing. It's actually sad. So anyways, this guy, once he catches up to me, and we're at the little corridor of the front door, and he catches me, and he gets me in a chokehold, and he does it officially, and I say officially because it's on legal record, for 20 seconds, for 20 seconds, okay, sorry, getting ahead of ourselves. He does that, he throws me to the ground, and he says, "You gotta start respecting me more." And then he walks off. This is such a funny story. Like you can't write how silly all of this is. Like I'm threatening violence on you, so you have to respect me more. I've got a newsflash, Ryan, if you're watching this. Violence doesn't inspire respect, honestly. It inspires a lack thereof, really. There's no reason to respect a violent person, The idea that because you can put me in a stranglehold for 20 seconds means you're more worthy of respect is just a flawed concept, really. That's along and the short of it. And for the record, this is on legal record, and I did go to the hospital for this, so I just want to show you. This is why I made the Josh Darnell joke in the beginning, because specifically this is still a sign of it. There's still some stuff around my neck about it. There's my singing voice feels different sometimes when I hit like a staccato or a vibrato or whatever the word is. I like to sing. I'm not an expert at it. But there's some like long note that I hold where there's like a little like and it's because my throat is different than it was a few days ago. Anyways, this event happened on Wednesday afternoon. I don't remember exactly when, but it was Wednesday afternoon. And let's say 4 o'clock. I'm saying let's say just to generalize. It might have been like 5 or 6. I don't know. This guy runs to the back room. I take my cell phone and I'm barefoot. And I go to the curb. And I immediately call 911. Because I'm not living in fear of this guy. This guy loves to threaten violence. And every time he threatened violence, he would say, "Well, this is my home, so if I punch you because you're being mean to me, if I kick your ass because you're being mean to me," and, of course, as I've told you very clearly, I didn't start making jokes at his expense, theoretically, until he just showed me that there was no love he had for me already. And, the connection of my confidence to his lack of love for me is not lost on me. The fact that I'm a confident person without him is like, God, I should have done this a long time ago. And, if it takes a stranglehold to do it, at least it didn't kill me. The cops show up, and as you can tell, I'm a yapper, and they were a little upset about it. I do actually, I'm pretty sure they have body cam footage, because that's a law, right? They were a little mean to me just because I'm trans, and they were like, they kept saying he, him all the time. And in the body cam, I made eye contact with one of the body cams if it was running, and I was like, "It's she, her, actually. Hi, I'm Eileenbrady." Because if that body cam ever comes out, I think I look good because they interrupted me telling a story, and the story was like about to conclude, and it was simply that he thinks he has a legal dispute because I disrespected him, and he thinks he has a monetary value dispute of my residence here, despite the fact that the previous agreement is that I pay utilities, and I have all the Cash App receipts for those utilities I paid. So really, it's not. There's nothing. There's just no grounds to stand on. The legal grounds he thinks he has to stand on is disrespectful, snide comments. And what some people call that, I call freedom of speech, baby. I call that the First Amendment, and I've never loved it more than this moment, because I gotta tell my story. All right? Here's the situation, okay? They immediately, they do end up arresting him. He's actually surprised that the police are there, because his narcissism clearly led him to this point where he to where he didn't understand that the police would show up because he put me in a stranglehold. Like he doesn't understand how a physical assault on his daughter could make him. Could get him arrested. Whew. So I'm in the ambulance, and I see him. Well, I see them like about to put him in handcuffs, and I do a little like, because I'm very excited about this moment. Like you only get to live that moment once, right? Of your abuser getting arrested, and I'm sure it might be on a body cam that I did a little middle finger. I'm pretty sure that counts as freedom of speech too. Like he was in handcuffs. Like what could that possibly? How could that be violent? Like it's just freedom of speech because he put me in a stranglehold. Like one little middle finger to my abuser is not legal grounds for him to stand on. I'm pretty sure. But he keeps threatening me. So I'm in the ambulance. I talk about how crazy this whole situation is because it's crazy. I'm in the hospital for a few hours. Hospitals are weird. Sometimes it takes time to get the CT scan and everything. Thankfully, they tell me everything's okay. I've done enough singing in the past day and a half or so to realize there is something weird about my throat. There is part of the like I'll sing on a Twitch stream sometime if you want to hear my argument for why my throat is different than it was a couple days ago. But anyways, my throat is in immense pain currently. Like the only reason it's not like hard to talk is because of these wonderful Tylenol extra strengths, which I had to get at the convenience store. But we'll get to that later. Now, I'm in the hospital. Till about 10 o'clock or something, maybe 9:30. That's a time frame. 9 o'clock to 10:30 or something. Like it takes a while to like get home because of like the whole discharge process, especially when the police are involved and all that. I'm pretty sure. In Kaiser, actually, a social services worker comes by, and I tell him the story perfectly well. I tell the truth, and this guy says, well, it doesn't really sound like a domestic violence dispute, and I have no idea what the hell that is supposed to mean. It sure felt like domestic violence to me, but that's what he said, and I was like, okay, well, have you seen all the disorders on my Kaiser chart? Do you understand that I'm pretty sure I'm autistic and like all this other stuff, right? And he's like, yeah, but that doesn't have any bearing on any of this. I was like, oh, fine, okay. Just make sure I get home and I'll figure it out. And this is me currently figuring it out, and I'm very confident that it's working out. I get home, and during this process of the hospital, I'm texting all my friends. And I have messaged a couple family members and called them and everything. And one of the family members I've called is the enabler because I felt like she deserved to know. But, now that I look back on it, I shouldn't have done that. Maybe things would have been the same either way, but really wish I didn't do that. Maybe, I don't know. I got a hotel room. Anyways, the enabler texts me pretty soon after I get home, or maybe before, and she says, "Hey, your dad's gonna be home in a few hours, just so you know." Which is crazy because I pressed charges on his assault of me. And so I immediately start panicking, which I think is natural in this situation. I call her up. I'm so sorry. I skipped over a part. When I hear that she seems to be excited that he's coming home, and there's so much enabling of his abuse that she really doesn't understand the mere concept that her son could be an abuser enough that people deserve the right to not want to be in his life without being considered a brat or a jerk or a meanie that hurt her. Because let's be fair, the enabler is a bit childish too, and you can see where the abuser gets it from. But I don't think it's cute anymore after I got put in a stranglehold, to be fair. I call her immediately, and I say, "What do you mean he's coming home in a few hours?" And she says, "Well, he had a bail." That's the first thing. She's just like, "Well, obviously he had a bail," and I'm like, "Yeah, but who paid the bail?" And she goes, "I did." And I snap, and I explain to her the traumatic thing that just happened to me hours earlier. I explain how decades of enabling him to be this way is what made him do this to me. that it's simply the fact that she is an enabler, and that the fact that paying for his bail immediately, like some of the best joy I've ever felt recently was seeing him finally face consequences for his actions of, his threats of violence, his emotional distress he causes to people that are supposed to love him. And I'm just telling her these facts, right? Because these are the facts of the situation. And this is a quote verbatim. She says, "Well, I'm sorry, but you can't pick on me." And I snap. I hang up the phone. I text her and I say, "You're a bad person, actually. Like, you don't care about me. I'm telling you I'm unsafe because of the environment that you've caused for me. And your reaction is you can't pick on me." She's playing the victim card to the literal victim of a crime. And that really just made me snap. Like just, oh, okay. So any respect I gave you ever, actually, didn't matter, because you seem to think that even in this situation, because you're older than me, that you're allowed to say something like that. Despite the fact that I'm not picking on you, I'm just telling you facts. I'm simply just telling you the facts, buddy. Like, my abuser also hates when I say buddy like that, and it's like, dude, you're lucky I didn't call you dipshit. I have called him dipshit before. He's heard me say that because I've gotten very upset with him. But again, that's not legal grounds to stand on, because he is a dipshit, clearly, and freedom of speech. So, I tell her that if she really cares about me at all, she'll understand that she's put me in an unsafe environment. I didn't even have that many hours where I got to live with him being in jail. All right. Like he assaulted a human being. That human being happened to me, but he didn't even spend 12 hours in jail. Like, that, objectively, that's crazy, right? Like even if that wasn't me, that's crazy, right? Let's just look at that for a second. That's crazy, right? I tell her that, listen. If you really care about me at all, you gotta put me in a hotel, like, right this second, because I'm not gonna make eye contact with that horrible monster. And I don't deserve to. I deserve better than that. And if you care about me at all, you're gonna put me in a hotel. And during this entire process of putting me in a hotel, she's upset because I called her a bad person when I snapped. And she, she's really sad about it all. She's doing a lot of this. And she's complaining about writing, like, her credit card info with the hotel and everything. And she's like, I really don't want to do this, but, you called me a manipulator. And I snap again. I say, I actually didn't call you a manipulator. I stated a fact, which is that you're an enabler to an abuser. So, let's get the facts right if you're going to tell this story wrong. All right? I didn't call you a manipulator. I don't actually think you manipulated him to choke me. That's not what I said. And if you're childish enough to believe that, then I don't understand why I bent over backwards for both of you guys for so many years, She's just like, okay. And she turns away. She faces, like, the reception. And then I remember the pick on me line. And I'm just, like, hopeful that this is the last time I talk to this enabler ever again, honestly. And I say, listen. You need to know I wasn't picking on you. It's very important that you understand, as an adult human woman, that I, as an adult human woman, I was not picking on you. Like, there's no way you can swing it that way, that I was picking on you. I was defending literally my life. Literally, I had a chokehold for 20 seconds. I was defending my right to live. That's all I was defending. And you thought I was picking on you. Like, think about it. Think about why you thought I was picking on you when I said that. And it's maybe just like a weird wiring in your head that makes you think you can manipulate people. And that is manipulation, because you did manipulate me into thinking you were a good person, and you're not. I'm happy that you felt some kindness in your heart to give me a safe place to live in this short period of time, but it's really important that you understand that you can't say that when a victim of a crime is talking to you about how you literally enabled an abuser again because he didn't face consequences. His bail, and it's probably gonna come out like I have a lot to say, and I have no, like, secrets. Okay, that's the truth. I have no secrets. If I told a bad joke, if I sent a bad text, if I sent several bad texts, it was, like, there's so many things. I'll talk about it all. I'll explain it all. I'm not ashamed about any of it, because I personally remember exactly where I was in that headspace. And that's, that I understand that might sound weird, but it's just the truth, because I just care about people a lot. And if anybody's ever been upset with me, I've really taken it personally to the point where I'm not blaming it on them, but, blaming myself, because I'm like, well, okay, that's constructive criticism that I need to take to move on as a person. Like, it's important to me to realize that as a person. This guy, as far as I was aware, this guy was coming home within a couple hours of when they picked me up to go to the hotel. And now that I'm in the hotel, the truth's just coming out, okay? I'm here for a while. We're hoping that the story gets out there in a way that people support my Ko-Fi and my Cash App and all that stuff. And also just the fact that I'm just going to do a lot of creative writing because I'm really good at it. I just love talking. I love writing. I sent my dad a text this morning, and it was like a picture of, it was like just a scan, I guess, of the get out of jail free card from Monopoly. And I said, pretty crazy how having your mother means you always have one of these. Because he has gotten bailed out of jail before in the past, is my understanding. That's my understanding. I might have misread a past situation. I'm not explaining that situation, so it's not libel. Everything I said here is true, so... I mean, there have been altercations with other people violently that, don't inspire a good character, do that. So this guy, I thought that was a really funny joke, and I hope he understood that it was. He texted me rules of moving out, because this is clearly important, because you clearly still want to live here, right? Like, rules of moving out, you clearly still want to live here, and it's all stuff like, you can never disrespect me ever again, and like stuff like that. But it's also just like, you can't be on the premises even just to get your stuff, because I packed like a couple things here. I have my Steam Deck, I have my Nintendo, and I have my Miu Mini. Well, okay, here's one thing I'm really upset about. This is a really silly aside, but my Playdate. It's a little yellow Game Boy sort of thing. It's hard to explain to the person that's not in the niche video game community, but it's basically like a little Game Boy that is modern in the way that people develop for it, and it is 1-bit in color. Anyways, it's basically an artsy fartsy niche video game project that I love to support because it's beautiful, and I'm actually really scared for it because I almost want to list every property here, because destruction of property is also a crime, Ryan. Like if you actually are threatening my stuff, I could list all of it, because as far as I know, there's a computer over there. It's an old computer, but it's still a computer. There might be a laptop somewhere. There's a Guitar Hero controller. There's a bunch of clothes. There's a bed and a bed frame. The bed frame's technically a futon frame, but the bed works on it, so it's fine. There's more shoes. There's cute shoes that I left over there, and I'm really upset about it. There's books that I left over there. A lot of books. I have a lot of books, and I'm very excited to read them with this new confidence. Anyways, my television, my Fire Stick, my the dock for my Switch, all the docks that I have for my Steam Deck, 2 monitors. He's gonna make an argument that one of those monitors is his, but you should know that he has several spare monitors, and he let me have one under the guise that I buy a stand for it, because for some reason he couldn't find the stand for it. And, the stand was like, I can figure out exactly how the stand was, but I'm pretty sure it was like $30 to $40. And, it's a nice 1080p monitor. Yeah, technically the monitor part is his, but I just need you to know that if he takes that from me, it's just petty bullshit, because he has so many monitors and he doesn't use any of them because he's just on his laptop all fucking day. So yeah, one of the last things he says in this long rules of moving out is, I suggest you don't say anything else. Oh gosh, you know what? I want to read it verbatim, and I'll read it verbatim sometime. But he threatens legal action in a message for saying, he's threatening my speech. And I simply say, would LMAO suffice? And it's like quotes around LMAO. And I say, the only legal defense I need, hey, that's what he said. He said, I hope you don't say anything that inspires some legal defense. or that I can use in my legal defense. And that's when I say, would LMAO suffice? And then I say, the only legal defense I need is the First Amendment, baby. And then I said, I hope you have a nice next couple hours, because, you know, I got a haircut. I was finishing writing that essay. Again, eggshells, read all about it. Because the mere concept of eggshells has only been used to hurt me, actually. So saying eggshells, read all about it, like maybe a cutesy little thing about it. Did I show you guys the part on my? Yeah. Okay. I'll show you it. Maybe if I can just show a picture. Maybe that's plausible. But I'm gonna lift it as high as I can. And like, there's damage there, and there's damage here, and like my throat, because like when he threw me, like clearly, like I didn't realize it until after the fact, because my throat had hurt so much that I didn't focus on the stuff that happened on my foot. But there's a scrape there that clearly, you know, shows violence again. And it's because, you know, he threw me against the front door after he did that and said I should respect him. And, you know, he can't, I hate to quote a television show in my, you know, in this video. But he can't keep getting away with it. Like, he just can't. Like, he got enabled to the point where even this action got him out of jail, and he's already threatening legal action against me because he's so narcissistic that he thinks I'm the reason he went to jail. Do you understand that? Do you understand how that's crazy? That is. I mean, I'm sorry for patronizing you. I'm just saying that's crazy, right? That's wild. That's really you know, raised by a narcissist, clearly. So this guy, I get a beautiful haircut, and God, I look so hot. Like, that's just the truth. This guy sends me a PDF, and he says, it says an eviction notice. It's like a 30-day eviction notice. And it's like, that's really cute, buddy. That's so cute that you think that matters. I'm not stepping foot on the property ever again unless I have, like, a lot of help. Like, we're never going to be in the same room together again alone because, you know, I've got a threat to my safety. Like you did win with the, ooh, so scary joke by proving that you are scary, but again, I don't fucking respect it, you piece of shit. So yeah, that's basically the whole story. Is there anything else I wanted to talk about? Let me just collect my thoughts real quick. The video is way longer than I expected it to be. I thought it was going to be like 20 minutes long. So, anyways, I'm currently a creative living in a hotel for, let's just say, a little while. I'm not going to say, you know, how far that's going to go, really, because I don't know. I'll tell you that genuinely the biggest disappointment of not being able to be in that house anymore is the fact that I bought pasta recently, and I was very excited to make that pasta, and there's no stove in this hotel. So, you know, I'll have pasta some other day, I'm sure. I at least I'm alive, and I'm sure I'll eat pasta in the future, right? But yeah, no, that's the other thing is, like, I have food there. Like, I didn't have time to pack my food. There's, like, wild cherry Pepsi there. There's probably Dr. Pepper maybe in the cabinet. There might not be. I don't know. But there's definitely a lot of pasta. And there's definitely, like, French fries and chips and stuff like that I would love to eat. And I can't because they're at my abuser's house. You know, stuff that I own, and I have to do it. Yeah, so I'm, you know, I just love putting myself out there. I love not having anything to apologize for, and I love, you know, none of this is libel, it's just the truth. Like, I I just have to keep emphasizing that because this poor little man thinks that this poor little silly guy, he really thinks that he has power over it. He just doesn't anymore, folks. He just doesn't. That's it. I'm gonna stream on Twitch a lot. At this point, as you heard from previous talk, there's kind of no like computer here, and like I'm pretty sure you can stream to Twitch on your phone. And if people are compelled to like pay to help me live, because I do deserve a living, and I am a good creative, and I know that that's a really well written essay, and I'm very proud of it. And I'm also like, just like, naturally, I just get so excited hearing like the cool connections and thoughts I make in my head just about like anything, and finally figuring out all the pain in my life has been really cathartic. So it's, I'm gonna cry a little bit. So yeah, anyway, so it's if you want to help me, that's co-fi.com/eileenbrady. It's Eileen, what is it? It's, oh yeah, the Cash App is, the $, eileenbdy. The email, if you want to constructive criticism my work, is where did Eileen go wrong @gmail.com. Again, it's Eileen, Eileen. Whenever I tell people my name's Eileen, they always like talk about that. Also, my legal name is Brady Erickson. Hard to imagine why I don't want to use that name ever. So yeah, my professional name is Eileen Brady because I feel an attachment to the name Brady because that's me. And I also feel an attachment to the name Eileen. And just a real quick point. In the past, I have shown vulnerability after I've set a boundary, which is, it was just like, I like being called Brady and I like being called Eileen, but sometimes it's easy to notice when a person isn't respecting me the way they're saying Brady, because it's easy when they also, it's especially easy when they also say pronouns, but it's also easy when like they were being nice before and they're upset at me for whatever reason and they start saying Brady instead of Eileen, and it's just like, I've had moments of vulnerability where I switched my boundary while I was upset in a similar way to my abuser, because of inspiration. And I'm really sorry if I've hurt you like that in the past. I was hurt. And I like being called Eileen and I like being called Brady, is the truth. And I just don't like being called that other name because it's not my name, even though it is legally. But that was a point of contention with my father in one of the last days, is that I was like, really, 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 my name's Eileen. And I just wanted to put my foot down on that because I know he doesn't respect the trans thing. Like, he acts like he does. And that was another enabling thing that I really want to get into real quick, is that the enabler will talk to me sometimes and say, you really need to be friends with your father because you really need people in your corner because of this whole transgender thing, which is so disgusting, dude. The implication that, like, that's a controversial issue simply because all her friends think it's a controversial issue because she's 70-something years old. I don't remember, and I'm not going to remember ever because I don't care. Just saying, yeah. Anyways, that's me signing off. co-fi/eileenbrady. Cash App sign, I guess it's the cash, what is that called? The S with the line through it. eileenbdy. Please help me. I'm just gonna keep writing. I'm here for a little while. I'm just gonna keep writing. I'm gonna make content, as they say, but as you can tell, I'm just gonna pour my heart out in whatever I'm talking about, and maybe that's just me talking about how I miss my Playdate. Because, gosh, have you guys played like Bloom? Like Bloom on the Playdate is like perfect. And there's other Playdate games. For some reason, I couldn't. There's like Pick Pack Pup. There's a new one in season 2 that I was really into. Like Dig Dino. Is that what it's called? I'm naming them off the top of my head just because I want to support people. But yeah, oh yeah, shout outs to like comedy in general. Like I really love improv a lot, and genuinely comedy in general has given me the confidence to go through all of this, because like just laughing is cathartic, right? Like if you personally haven't laughed and felt joy from laughter, then you're really missing out. And I was taught that laughing is an attack. And I'm not going to think that way anymore. I'm not going to let that guy limit my bits anymore. So yeah, just shout outs to like Dropout TV and every improv podcast ever made, because look, I've listened to all of them and just like genuinely helped me keep going. Also, just like I said names of like, I did winky nods about the niche corners of the internet I've been in. If I've annoyed you on the internet, I'm so sorry. Like, it was just me trying to be funny in a chat room. And the truth is my comedic timing doesn't work in a chat room. So, and it kind of just doesn't work in any chat room. Let's talk about that. That's an essay idea. Just text is bad for comedic timing unless you know their voice. And to be fair, nobody knew my voice, so it's fine. Anyway, see you later.